Okie dokie.
Okie dokie. Okie dokie.
Ah. That moment when you forget that the speakers are on and it repeats. Uh, yes, this is just me being here and saying hi in the middle of the busy schedule of work and HVZ weekends. Uh, yeah, what's up, people? Back in a minute. I need to grab something to eat. Hi, as Fook. How do you snort toothpaste? That's. I'm not sure how to respond to that. Uh, yes, this is one of those things of fun weekend, spending at the New Paltz Invitational. It was a long drive, but it was definitely worth it. Let's see. It's roughly 8 hours there and back from where I live, but there's a large number of us from Ohio that went there, so that was fun running around with everybody. Uh, Whole thing for those who weren't there, it was an amusement park theme of, don't mind the zombie cosplayers throughout the park. And of course, obviously they're actual zombies. Uh, Mission 1 was kind of boring. Somehow a few people still managed to die. It was more of a, for those who haven't been here, go around campus and look at things and collect the map pieces. Still confused how people died. But going to Endwar, yes, I live like an hour and 15 minutes from it. So, yeah. uh, Also, there's the little fact that I'm one of the moderators for Endwar this year, so I kind of have to be there. Um, let's see. Um, yes, Ohio. Uh, Mission 2 for New Paltz was after we had found all the map pieces, we had to get the 4 keys to allow us to escape from the amusement park. Um, in Mission 2, it was restoring the roller coaster, then escorting the little roller coaster around the quad to get the key. Uh, that was a fun one. People started actually dying on that one. Uh, Mission 3 now, was finding the key in Candyland after helping the Candy King harvest a bunch of things. Uh, Mission 4 was going through the Dino Park with, Bogue dressed as a T Rex and being a tank that could only be stunned with large ammo. Uh, that one was fun, just because it was so freaking silly. If they were having issues at first with recognizing that megas count for stopping tanks, but by the end of that mission, that was pretty much taken care of. Then after that was the finale, and uh, that was a lot of fun. I was having issues with one of my blasters earlier, so I went with just a Buzzbee boss and a bunch of 12 round mega magazines, enough to keep tanks from doing anything but still have enough shots for normal zombies. Uh, anyway, while I'm thinking about it, let's grab a couple of these things. This blaster I had running on 2S while I was there because the FPS limit at New Paltz is 100 FPS, which I don't mind, but a lot of my blasters, depending on how you have them set up, are running right there at the cutoff, so you have to underpower things. And in the case of this little guy, it started creating a few issues with the fire control. So after a couple missions with it, I had to go ahead and stop. But speaking of Megan, oh, speaking of megas. Okay, that's what you meant. Okay. um, I was confused for a minute there. Anyway, this blaster, it's the back of a Stampede. The plunger and the spring on the inside are removed. All I'm doing is using the whole plunger tube breech assembly as the pusher for feeding the darts into the flywheel cage, and using the back for, battery storage, wiring, all that stuff. This section is part of a Buzzbee boss that I thrifted, used for the magazine well for the megas. And I have part of the original. Also, if I actually orient it towards the camera, I have part of the original breech on the inside for lining the darts up with the flywheel cage. The front's off a Mastodon that I thrifted. The first version of this that's currently sitting in pieces on repairs used a Zeus flywheel cage, but the spacing on rival wheels meant you could only use Nerf brand megas with it, which means you're not going to hit anything. So version 2 was a Mastodon. Doesn't shoot quite as hard, but you can actually hit what you're aiming at. And then I had, just to line things up and look nice, the top off of a Zeus shell also has the wires and stuff running from the flywheel cage to the back. And yeah, beyond that, it's just epoxied or plastic welded in various places to make it a complete blaster. I have the original on-off switch set to rev the flywheels. I don't mind using that as the rev trigger. It's just, you have to be conscious of the fact that if you jam, you need to turn this off, because otherwise, you have power flowing through your motors and possibly doing things. The other side, I have just a regular on-off switch with a light on the inside, just a 30 amp switch that you'd use in a car or something else. But works perfectly with 3S. And with darts, it's firing basically the firing rate of a Stampede. So there you go. Okay. Full video on the blaster. At some point I'm going to. Heard when the Naptown April War is. The Naptown War is actually the 21st of April. Over at Broad Ripple Park. I won't be there because it's also the same weekend as the Youngstown State Invitational. April is basically all HVZ games. I mean, yeah, megas are a fun thing, and I made that relatively fast, specifically because at New Paltz, megas were allowed as a thing for stopping tanks. New York-style tanks, it's, they're same as normal zombies, but they usually have some kind of giant fluorescent shirt or some kind of vest or whatever to signify that they're tanks, and you have to use a sock or some type of large ammo. In the case of New Paltz, megas are listed under that, so, why not have something that can shoot megas rapidly as needed? And we didn't really see any tanks till the end, so I just went ahead and used it anyway, just to see how it held up normal use, instead of trying to pin anything in particular down, and it worked fine. The other thing I had, because, for silly things like taking care of tanks, was this thing. It is 2 motorized bazookas put together. I asked Nevitz01 off of Reddit, because I know he'd done it before, just to, tips on anything in particular for mating the shells together. So, asked him, got questions back, and went ahead and came up with my version of this. So, it worked just fine. Used it for Mission 1 and Mission 3. Mission 1, it was just fired a couple shots, didn't really do much. Mission 3, actually got a chance to use it, and it worked fine. It's just another one of those things where it's just really freaking silly and fun to use, and even if there isn't a special purpose for having it, I would still use it at an HVZ game anyway. Uh, uh, how many mags do you run with it? With the, if you're talking about the Mega Blaster, I can fit 6 of these comfortably in my tool belt. I have just a regular couple pocket, like, Handyman's tool belt that I got from Walmart like 2 years ago. It holds like 8 20 round clips of normal darts, or normal darts, or 6 of these comfortably. With the small pockets behind that, you can fit a couple extra, although in those cases, though, you really can't run without those falling out, so you need to use those mags first. And also, I can hold a ton of Boomco ammo with it if I'm using the 40 round clips. How did you have enough balls to run that? Assuming that's a serious answer, a serious question, I actually have a giant 5-gallon bucket full of balls of, how many years ago would it have been? 5 or 6 years ago? Hasbro made, from the makers of Nerf, these koosh ball launchers, the, like, Galaxy and other things aimed at small kids. And after being out for a while, those died off, but you had all of the ammo packs with like 5 balls or so. You could get on clearance for like $1 basically at Walmart, as long as you kept an eye out for them. And I just kept picking those up whenever I saw them, so I have a giant bucket full of balls. They're actually slightly larger than the original Nerf balls you used with that, so you have to actually shave the feeding mechanism in a particular way to make sure it actually pushes the ball into the flywheel cage. Otherwise, it just kind of gets stuck in there about 10% of the time, and it's not fun when it jams like that. The flywheels are fine since it can't physically get into it, but the ball just refuses to move. It just presses into the ball instead of pushing the ball forward. But due to space constraints that I discovered later, I had to throw in one of my old 6-cell nickel metal hydride packs in the back. The slide on the bottom extends down far enough that none of the lipo packs that I had on me could actually fit in there without jamming up against that in some way. I'm gonna fix something up just so I use the actual battery compartment for batteries instead of the space in the back. But until that point, shove that in real quick. Fun little sound, those old flywheel cages. But like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Pull that back, loaded, and then you can just go to town with it. When I used the chronograph at New Paltz, they were testing stuff at the nickel metal hydride pack I was using. The 6-cell one was pushing it 67 feet per second, I think the balls were coming out at. I mean, it's a giant ball, so it's going to slow down really quickly regardless of what speed you're throwing it at, but, you know, fun fact. Blaster call again. Motorized Ballzooka. And yeah, they do fit the Kush balls. You just have to adapt it a little bit since they're slightly larger. He isn't, so am I, say hi. But yeah, in spite of, bringing plenty of other blasters with me that, normal people would use, I just ran those two for most of the day. Because why not? Take the batteries out. I'll have to recharge some stuff because Bowling Green has their invitational on Saturday. Not sure how silly or serious I'm going to be aiming for yet, but even if I don't use these, I'll probably bring them with me, regardless. They're fun. Do you has grill fried? I'm a very lonely human. Aww. Yeah, and that was the main thing, talking about HVZ and blaster stuff. Playing serious. Well, obviously you should be having fun the whole time, but depending on how large the group of zombies is, I mean, sometimes you just have to go with the copious amounts of ammo option. Oh, RZ. So yeah, I'll have to do a full write-up on those for internals and everything else. I don't know, Reddit, Blaster Hub, wherever I feel like throwing them. I have things everywhere nowadays at this point. Making a video covering it, maybe. I don't know. Even though I'm doing stuff on YouTube now, I still prefer writing. Just feels more natural to me. Oh, funny. Okay. Throw them everywhere. That's kind of the attitude I have with my ammo. Trying to think what else there is going on. Uh, Not much else. Just waiting on stuff to arrive. The new Dart Zone waffles, whatever their variety of it is. Uh, Finally have an X-Shot regenerator showing up at some point. Because, naturally it's one of those things that is set to come out at Toys R Us, and then Toys R Us decides we're gonna go bankrupt. So, but have someone that actually had Toys R Us where those showed up, so getting one of those shipped up. Um, what else am I working on? Well, I mean, there's plenty of stuff that's half torn apart, but in terms of actual what I consider to be a project, say, where do I have it? I'm trying to think where the parts are, but the one thing I want to get working on is I have the little Spy Gear wrist blasters that were out for a little bit and then got clearanced out because they sucked. But got a couple of those for cheap and going to use those to mount a blaster onto, connect it to a glove with, buttons to press, so you can actually have an arm mounted whatever blaster you choose. In terms of ease of use and minimizing everything, probably going to go with a Hyperfire based build of some kind. In this case, I actually have the inside shell of a regulator, because it turns out of all the different blasters I was looking at, the inside like clamshell part that houses the flywheels, the pusher motor, the belt and everything, just holds everything together nicely and in a relatively compact package. The only problem is the magazine released, since it's normally back here with the trigger and everything. So I'm modifying a one of Foam Blast's release levers, so you can still have it on there under the shell, and then just with your magazine. So technically speaking, you could actually have one of these on both arms and still be going back and forth. And since it's buttons mounted to your glove, well, buttons or, just metal pieces wired up, so you can just contact and do all your connections for your circuitry. So you could still have two arm mounted blasters, still use your hands for like carrying socks or other items, whatever. Yes, yes, become a Gundam. So yeah, that's basically the update of. That's all I've got for now. So I'll leave this online. See everyone later.